Everyone, and welcome back to Color the Magic and my frequency writer messages for February 2026. My name is Marie Mohler, and I'm an author, a creative spirit, and a messenger of living a rich, inspired, authentic, and abundant life as divine creative heroes in ascension times, or you could say in changing times, right? So that is definitely a theme of 2026, change, change, and more change. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about a lot of themes that I see prevalent this month and going forward through the remainder of this year, but particularly potent in February. This is a huge month in so many ways, astrologically, cosmologically, quantumly, and also like boots on the ground in living the light of the living garden inside us at the same time that an entire 3D matrix and all the systems that went with it that were founded in the 3D matrix's games and gimmicks are falling away. It is an incredible time. We've talked for many years on this channel about the in-between times. We are experiencing that at the same time that we are getting this like propulsion, this momentum, the year of the fire horse, this 1 year in a new 9-year cycle, these endings and beginnings, all the themes that we've been touching on this channel in the conversations. For those of you who stuck with me for the majority of this time, they're coming to fruition. We're seeing the actual manifestation, the expression of so many of the frequencies that we've talked about and spotlighted here. It's happening. It's absolutely happening. And February 2026 is going to deliver a huge amount of pretty robust change that's going to change the planetary momentum and the launching of these new structures that I believe have been in place for some time, but they're becoming more known to the human collective. So without further ado, number one, I want to thank you for joining me today. Let's take a deeper dive into the themes I see for February 2026 and as we move and grow and expand forward. And then also let's take a look at that big picture review. Okay, so here we are. I've talked about in that opener, talked about change, change, and more change. We're going to be talking about this theme of change, obviously, through the remainder of this Ascension decade, but it's pretty robust. It's pretty potent for the month of February. And I'm not the only one spotlighting it, but that's how it came through, that change, change, and more change, like change to the third power, right? We're going to see a lot of change in February 2026. There's another theme of investing in you and your divine talents. We're going to talk a lot about our talents today. We're going to touch on bold new beginnings because, of course, we know this is a brand new year. This is a brand new 1 year in a new 9-year cycle. It's the year of the fire horse. We're going to touch on a number of those themes today. We're going to talk about soul alignment and sacred allowing as soul skills that are seeking a divine partnership with you, a conscious divine partnership with you right now, right here and now, very powerfully. And there's a lot of themes coming through about that. And as we feel that call and that summoning to soul alignment and this art of sacred allowing in divine partnership with ourselves, with our soul, with our higher selves, right? We're letting go of more layers that aren't meant for us. We are embracing what is aligned with our spiritual path, our gifts, and our purpose. So the letting go creates the space for embracing what is truly meant for us beyond our old stories and costumes that we've been wearing and the 3D Matrix's theater for as far back as most of us can remember. And then I have some new February 2026 soul songs prepared for you that have all of these themes to inspire you the whole month long and to journey with you the remainder of this year at the very least. These songs are timeless, but they're particularly poignant this month because every song is singing the messages of these themes that we're covering right now. And then another theme that's very, very important, it comes through in the Garden Insights I'll be sharing with you today, Garden Insights number 10 for February 2026, is the peace of our Christ-Sophia presence that is leading and guiding us vibrationally. It's like our vibrational compass. It's our vibrational map. It's our vibrational lantern. It's everything. That Christ-Sophia presence is, in effect, the frequency of our Merkaba that I haven't talked about specifically in many, many messages, but that's coming through pretty loud and clear. That is our locomotion in the new age, in the new earth. It's that Christ-Sophia integration, that soulful merging and convergence into wholeness that is a presence and a peace that passes understanding, that is finding all of us, and especially those who are actively, consciously listening. And so the peace of our Christ-Sophia presence in Ascension Times is also a theme in our conversations today. So with that said, let's take a look at the big picture review. And actually first, we're going to look back at a post that I shared in January. It was a post from Alex Miles that I had seen on x.com somewhere. And this Alex Miles had put together this post that was showing the 111 or 111 or 1111 dates in this year, 2026. And so there were already 5 1111 or 111 portals so far this year. Now we are entering the month of February. As I record this message, it is February 1st. And we'll see again these powerful portals, these 1111s, the 111s, that those portal, it's like, if you remember, we would talk about the 0 point in between the two wolves, right? The legend of the two wolves. That was some messages in the Wayback Machine here on Color the Magic and my frequency writer messages. But there was something about the tension between the two wolves. Many people might get distracted by the black wolf and the white wolf, or the light wolf and the dark wolf, thinking that they need to focus on the tension caused by the two of them and the polarity or the duality. But in fact, in a perfect and precise universe, that is a perfect complementary polarity, not the 3D duality that we have been conditioned into and lived and have been kind of surviving and seeking to emancipate ourselves from all this time. We do that when there's a perfect tension between the light and the dark, a perfect tension between the light wolf and the dark wolf. And I always felt that perfect tension in the 11s, right? In a 1, 1, and then there's a 0 point in between, right? It's this kind of secret passageway that's becoming not so secret anymore because many, many more people are waking up to the power of their inner work, the power of the Eve, the awakener, the knower, and the Gnostic inside you that's the knower within. So when I see these dates, January 1st, 2026, January 10th, 2026, January 11th, 2026, the 19th and the 28th, we've just come through 5 powerful portals in January, very likely seeding a lot of the changes we're going to be experiencing in February 2026, which is now. So there's a lot going on. We'll see some more of these potent energies of those 11-1 or 11-11 portals in October, and then also very powerfully in November as well. But we'll be feeling these gateways inside us the whole year, right? Obviously impacted by a 1 year and a brand new 9-year cycle kicking off on January 1st, 2026 with a 1-1-1 portal. So this is a time of great change. It's a time of great expansion through the change. And it's time to embrace the change. And how do we do that? We embrace it through tuning into our conscious breathing. We tap into our talents and our gifts. And we ride the waves of where our soul wants to guide us, where we are most aligned in our gifts, our talents, our resources, our presence, our intelligence, our creativity. Where is that leading us? And it may be leading us in a different direction of something that we've been doing for many years. I myself have had that experience in the last few years. You've seen some of the messages or the structure or the way that I bring through messages has changed. I have felt this change at the very least in the last 2 to 4 years. Probably it started about 2 to 3 years ago, very definitively, that what I was doing and how I was doing it and how I was expressing my gifts and talents was changing. And sometimes those changes come through portals, just like we're looking at on the screen here from Alex Miles, but in ways that we can't quantify, in ways that may not be crystal clear exactly where we're going. It's like those stones in the fog, if you can picture that image, right? We know the stones are there. We can see just like 2, 3, 4 stones in the fog ahead of us, but we can't see beyond that, and we're out in unknown waters. That's what the courageous, divine, creative hero and heroine is journeying right now, right? We're stepping into these portals. We are summoned by something greater than our conscious mind's self, right? Our conscious mind's awareness. We are stepping deeper into the stones in the fog, and we're not exactly quite sure where it's leading us, but we know where we've been is not an option. That old world is closing out. That old version of you is closing out. Those endings that ended in December 2025, it was the ending of a 9-year cycle, but it feels like the ending of a 9-year cycle of lifetimes and lifetimes lived, right? A 9-year cycle of all time, of all lifetimes lived. It feels like a very, very powerful ending and a very, very potent new beginning. And that's what I really want to focus on. There's so much energy to support all of us to step through these portals that we're being given in 2026 to consciously be a creator and a creative in our own lives, and to listen for where your soul is guiding you away from old patterns and versions and aspects of you that you've been expressing and living for some time, and into this new, more expansive, free, and sovereign you that these 1111 portals are highlighting for us and awakening in us and offering to us to embrace, to step into those stones in the fog, into this new dimensional realm inside ourselves as conscious creators in a new quantum, multidimensional reality, truly. Okay, so with that said, with all those portal frequencies, that 0 point energy, that opening into newness and sovereignty and clarity, and all this expansive, potent, and very ripe energy, it's inviting us to like plant the seeds in the garden we want to experience in the next 9-year cycle, which is going to be a very powerful time on the planet. We are still in this ascension decade, and we are leaving the old versions of ourselves behind, and we are really embracing things that are very, very new about ourselves, but also very true about ourselves, because we're shedding the false skins. So what is a big theme for the big picture of you is change, change, and more change. Shifts on every level of our being personally. We've talked about this many times. I'm sure many other messengers on your favorite social media platforms are talking about this. I don't think there's anywhere most spiritual seekers can go and not hear about this accelerated, amplified essence of change and not be experiencing it in some ways in our lives, personally, as well as collectively and like geopolitically and financially. We are aware of big shifts happening in all aspects of our lives, from the micro to the macro and the macro to the micro. The world as we know it is changing big time, like epically big time, right? So I know we're all surfing these waves together. I'm so grateful that you spend time with the messages that I've prepared for you. Hopefully they give you some inspiration and jewels of golden light, really, to remind your soul what it knows from a deep knowing, a wellspring of knowing inside you. You know the things that I know. We can all tap into that collective awareness of the absolute truth, right? There may be layers of consciousness in between what our minds think is true, our ego minds that could be so tricked and deceived by the 3D matrix's games. But there is a level of consciousness inside all of us that transcends all time and space and illusions and deceptions. And we know what absolute truth is. And as spiritual seekers, we are listening through all of the changes, the change, and more change. We are listening for the absolute truth of God, the clear soul sight of Source, right? God's clear soul sight and our clear soul sight are seeking to merge, converge, and be a match. And that's our spiritual journeys in these realms. That is a big part of why we come as these divine creative hero and heroine souls on a planet like this, to rapidly evolve our souls and bring those lessons and gifts through time that we bring from other times here now to help this planet to take to other realms and dimensions when it's time, and add to the greater expansion in those places and spaces in time. So speaking of change, our global financial systems are in a major state of change and shifts and transformation, right? This reminds me of the biblical parable of the talents, which has always been a favorite of mine. And when I was preparing these slides for this conversation today, I rediscovered it when reviewing Dr. Terry Cole Whitaker's book, Dare to Be Great. And I was looking at where I had left off with the quotes for January. And I was looking at quotes for today's conversations. And we're going to get into that biblical parable of the talents, right? The parable of the talents, very beautiful and powerful and incredibly relevant for these times. We're going to get into that today. But I mention it here because there is a core theme in February 2026 and this entire year of investing in our light, in our talents, in our gifts, in ways that invite and allow God, source creator, and the great mother to fund us, to fund our visions and dreams. God funds me is a motto I felt from the inside out years ago. I have felt that God funds me. It's bigger than any kind of a GoFundMe or a crowdfunding campaign. The ultimate source of who funds us, the source of our funds and abundance is the ultimate source, is the great mother. They fund us to fund our visions and dreams. So that feel that for a moment. God funds me as a motto for you as the world changes, as more jobs may be eliminated, more companies closing or shifting or changing directions, more systems crumbling, more structures that we believed held up this world. Were those structures source, like the true source? If they are not founded in the frequencies of the true source, then they will crumble at their core. And at some level and in some time period or window of time, we will see those fall away. So God funding me, God funds me, God funds you, God funds our world. And the world has gotten away from that. We've started to believe that something outside of us funds us, right? It could be that job that you're attached to. It may be a job that you really don't like going into every single day. It's not your passion, it's not your talents, it's not your purpose, but you go in the mundaneness of the status quo. You get up and you go to work to get the check, to pay the bills that are all part of the 3D matrix's false narratives and outlandish lies. There's some information that's going to come through in Garden Insights and some of these quotes. So we want to be funded for our spiritual gifts. We want to be funded for our true, most aligned, soulful gifts that truly are here to uplift humanity in this time of epic shifts, right? Of course God would fund us. Of course God is always funding us and our spiritual work and our true purpose in this life. But if we're working in something that is so against the fabric of our soul, in a corrupt system, in a corrupt company, in something that maybe it's not that corrupt and maybe you're okay there, but it may still have the energy of status quo. And this year and these energies of this ascension decade are shaking up and breaking up and really quaking up all of our comfort levels and our attachments to life in the mundane, life in the familiar, life in what's comfortable. We are not going to be so comfortable in the changes upon changes upon changes that are happening. It's by design. It's shaking up all of that density. It's shaking up all of our attachments. It's shaking up all the tethers that we agree, consciously or unconsciously, to be held back by. And God is saying, no, I am summoning you to who you really are. I will fund you when you start tapping into who you truly are, and the source of your funding will be my source, will be the source of my light, will be the source of me and the Great Mother funding our divine children to live the bliss and abundance and the blessings of the divine garden in their everyday lives. So let's remember this. God funds us, right? And I know this to be true in my heart. I'm inviting you to tap into that feeling. Is it your employer that funds you? Is it your wealth portfolio that funds you? Is it your contract work that you think funds you? Who do you think funds you behind all of those things? The matrix would have us believe, the 3D matrix would have us believe that it's this archonic energy that we have to acquiesce to and follow the rules so we can get that paycheck, so we can pay the taxes, back to the matrix that puts us in these positions of employment and labor and work and enslavement over and over and over again, lifetime after lifetime. God funding us doesn't have to come through a paycheck. It can come through all kinds of things. It can come through gifts. It can come through unexpected income streams. It can come in the most unexpected, reciprocal, blessing-filled ways than you can even imagine. But your soul knows this, but the ego mind will say that's not possible. And you know what? So many have that paradigm and that frequency and that mental trap inside themselves of that's not possible for source to fund me. I have to rely on the 3D matrix. People who are feeling that and saying, I have to live in reality. Well, the reality, if it's 3D matrix informed reality, it's a trap. And so I'm inviting you to feel and see bigger and deeper that God funds us, right? That is the ultimate source of our funding. So we want to tap in this aligned way with ourselves. So the key is our alignment, our soul alignment. And we must align with our true authentic nature and our true authentic gifts that are a match to our soul's plan and divine purpose. What we are seeking is seeking us. It is seeking us. We are seeking to merge and integrate through the tension of the two wolves inside us, the life we feel like we have to be living and the life we know we are meant to be living. Those two worlds are merging into one so that we are living that soul-aligned, soul-inspired life on purpose, on mission, and in bliss. But we first focus on what is my true authentic nature? What are my true authentic gifts saying? And how am I being led from the inside out to be funded by God, to feel that essence of God funding me? What we are seeking is seeking us. We're going to remember that. And let's engage the act and art of allowing what is meant for us to reveal itself to us. Many of us know that what we are seeking is already seeking us. It already knows us. The knower of the seeking knows that the knower in what's seeking us as well are a vibrational match. But there's that art of allowing that we also need to tap into, getting out of our own way and allowing things that need to fall away. What is not aligned and what is not meant for us may fall away. It will fall away. So speaking of change, and more change, right? That epic change to the third power, at the very least, exponential change. I wanted to bring into this conversation today this historical talent as currency, right? As this energy on the move, as that fire horse that's on the move, right? That's creating this amplified and accelerated momentum, this bold change in our personal lives. I wanted to have the historical context of the financial system in Jesus's time, right? And where the talents were part of that story and how also they're relevant for us today. So in Jesus's time, a talent was a substantial unit of ancient currency, often a large silver or gold coin weighing about 75 pounds, equivalent to roughly 6,000 denarii or 20 years' wages for an average laborer. You think maybe $500,000 to $1 million in today's value. AI helped me with those numbers, so I don't know if it's all 100%, but just feel the frequency of what we're talking about. In Jesus's time, a talent was a substantial unit of ancient currency. A large silver or gold coin, often weighing about 75 pounds, and in our day to day, valued at probably $500,000 to $1 million. So having one talent was a huge amount of money and a lot of labor for the workers to earn that kind of money. It symbolized immense wealth and responsibility, as seen in the parable of the talents, where it represented entrusted resources to be multiplied through wise use. The wise use of our talents, that is something we're absolutely going to dig deeper into today. And now today, this dovetails perfectly with investing in our personal talents, our gifts, our skills, our creativity, our intelligence, and our potentials by actively developing them, just as in biblical times, to cultivate abundance, fulfillment, and a soul-aligned life brimming with blessings and growth. Somewhere along the way, talents became very hard to come by, and earning any kind of income stream was a very labor intensive job. And I imagine, picture a collective humanity that for centuries and centuries of time, the majority of people have had to slog away through dense, dense mud of the 3D matrix and all the manipulations and all the deceptions and all the taxations and all of the propaganda and all of the games and the tricks that have been played on humanity to harvest what ultimately our frequency, our light, our faith, our joy, our emotions, right? All of that has been harvested from the average day laborer who now in modern times, not everybody, but a lot of people go into work to punch in and punch out, metaphorically or literally, to earn a check just to survive, just to exist. No, historically, a talent as currency, it's like a flow of energy. It's a frequency of golden and silver light, of sound money, God's money, flowing in exchange for the people who are tapped into their truest talents and who are aligned with who they really are, living on purpose, their purpose, to serve the greater good. That is where the sweet spot is. That's where that special zone of absolute divine prosperity and abundance and the feeling of fulfillment and meaningfulness and a soul aligned life that is brimming with blessings and joy and growth and expansion and connection and community. That's what happens when sound money sounds like gold and silver historically. I think we're headed into a world where gold and silver are going to be part of the conversation more and more and more, reflecting the sound money, the sound currency or money inside us that flows through our divine talents in this golden and silvery light that is who we truly are. And that's why we're seeking alignment. We have to tap into the art of allowing, and we want to have that historical context of the parable of the talents, because it was both. It was two sides of the same coin. That talent that was physical precious metals in Jesus's day was also a message for centuries later in time, our time now today, where our talents are being summoned from the depths of our being and we are being required to align with who we are and the purpose and presence we have when our Christ-Sophia codes align inside us. So this is multidimensional change happening on a personal level. This is multidimensional change happening on a geopolitical level and a global scale, and really just in every way multidimensionally in every level of our being, in every aspect of life in a creative, conscious universe, right? This is change that is, you can't even quantify it with language. Language fails to capture this level of expansive and epic change that is a once in a soul times experience. And yet we are living it. We are living this. So remember this historical message of the talent, the two sides of the same coin. Precious metals were wealth, and your unique gifts and talents and alignment and allowance of your unique gifts and precious resources and abilities. It's both. And in that holistic way, when you're living the energy of sound money, of God's talent in you as a frequency, the bliss knows no bounds. The prosperity is unbridled and untethered, unlimited, right? Okay. So the world will continue its ascension path and process. Our job is the inner work to align with our divine spark that is here on purpose for a purpose that serves the greater good and the joy of the divine. When we listen to cues and clues about what is not meant for us, and I, for one, have been getting a lot of messages about that over the last several years, and then definitely more potently each month that we step into this deeper and deeper into the Ascension decade, I am definitely getting messages about what is not meant for me, things that I've been doing, and that's not it anymore. I'm not putting my energy there. I'm being called in another direction. And sometimes I feel that direction clearly, and I take those steps, and I'm excited about it, and I can see it, and I can feel it, and I know it. Sometimes I'm stepping out because I know I'm letting go of some things and I don't know where exactly I'm going. And I step into those stones in the fog with full faith and fortitude, right? Fortify my faith was one of my soul songs in years past, right? We want to fortify that faith that says, I joyfully I heartfully, I soulfully step on these rocks because I know this is my path. I know it. I feel it. I sentiently sense it. Even if I don't have a clear picture of exactly where it's leading me, I know my sentient flow. I know the divine feminine in me and Eve and Sophia and Mother Mary and Mary Magdalene and Mother Earth, these divine sacred beings in this divine dream team. They're supporting me and empowering me to trust what I cannot see necessarily with my physical eyes, what I cannot know with my mental mind, but that my soul knows, because each time I step on that next stone, I know the rightness within my being that this is where I'm meant to be. You'll see me on this channel. I continue to create these messages, and each time it is like a blank canvas. I have a little bit of a template, but I don't know until a couple days before I get on camera with you what is coming through. I just open to what wants to emerge, right? I open to what wants to come through me. And yes, there's a great deal of intuition. There's a tremendous amount of sentience. There's a lot of soul-led messages coming through here, through me, for you, for all of us, right? That's why I create this. It's my act of service. It's part of how I invest in humanity's collective dream of the golden light and the golden age returning to our world and to our lived daily experiences. It is time, right? But I also am saying, I don't see a clear path a month out, 3 weeks out, 2 weeks out. I'm just listening in the moment for what wants to emerge, what that I am seeking that's seeking me. We sync up, and that's what you see in these presentations. I'm trusting that just like you are. We're all cultivating to see from inner sight, to see from that clear soul sight that 2020 was such a message of. And we are in that ascension decade, and we need that inner sight now more than ever, because the outer sight can be a trickster, right? The outer sight can play the role of the coyote in animal medicine, right? That sort of distorts things or stirs the pot. And you think this is true, but wait, over here, this might be what's true. And we can get kind of trapped or tripped up in a multi-layered kind of Rubik's Cube of like, well, that looks true, and then that looks true, and then maybe that's true, but that contradicts that truth. And when we're feeling and living and listening and actioning our next steps through only outer vision, we are missing the bigger picture. The bigger picture is inside. The bigger picture is in our heart centers. The bigger picture is in our gnosis and our remembering. We already know who we are. We already have these extraordinary multidimensional talents and gifts. We are being called to refine our ability and allow it in to align with our soul gifts, our authentic, true soul gifts for this particular time, this particular month, this particular year. So if you're having a lot of things fall away, you're in good company, because I think that's happening to a lot of us. There's a lot of things that once might have been our jam, once might have been what lit us up from the inside out. It doesn't make those things wrong now because they're not right for us in this moment. They were right for us then, perhaps. Or maybe they were never right for us, and we were living in a false timeline, in a false matrix, in a false story, in a false reality, right? And we're waking up to that truth. You know what is best is you just claim your truth and get on the path of absolute truth with Source. You want to unify your breath with Source. You want to unify your intentions to use your gifts in the greatest service of the greater good, right? Not one particular person on the planet or one particular company or one particular agenda or mission statement per se, but to be always aligned with working with Source and the Great Mother to serve the greatest good of the planet, right? For the collective whole. And then you'll find what is seeking you is you are seeking, right? There's this reciprocity between what you are seeking to live and be and embody and express, and what the collective and the planet is seeking for us to express and live and embody, right? They are mutually, reciprocally blessing filled if we will continue to listen and keep going to the next stone and listen some more and integrate some more and tap into the Christ-Sophia codes inside you and this grand convergence of the light wolf and the dark wolf, who are relaxing the tension between them on our ascension path. At first, it's really tight and there's a big battle, But as you keep going in the journey, it's not a battle anymore. It's a beautiful dance. It's a beautiful choreography. And in fact, they're in perfect balance. They're in perfect balance in the tension. It's like a beautiful, perfectly balanced. I don't know what the word is. It's not tension. It's like grace. It's like the perfect divine design. And they're holding open those portals of the 11s, the 1-1s, right? The 11-11s for us to step through, because we're showing our mastery that we know we must align with ourselves. We must align with our breath. We must align with our true gifts and talents and aptitudes and use them with the intention and the knowing from inside that those are the gifts that are here to serve in whatever ways you're called, that feels true in the core of your being, that's here to serve during the ascension decade and these changes on the planet. And if it doesn't ping with that kind of allowing, and if you're not feeling that about your job or the way where you volunteer or how you're spending your time and investing your gifts every day, and however you do that, if it's not aligned, it's possible that those things are preparing to fall away and be left in the old story, so space is made for the new for you. So let me go back to this, that the world will continue its ascension path. Our job is the inner work. That's where the big picture is, in our inner sight, to align with our divine spark that is here on purpose, for a purpose that serves the greater good and the joy of the divine. When we listen to cues and clues about what is not meant for us, we find greater and greater clarity about what is. So if you're experiencing things closing out, relationships, jobs, things you previously enjoyed but that are losing their spark, or your interest in them in some way, that is very aligned with the times we are living in right now. We're all experiencing this on some level. Those endings are paving a pathway for the newness that is meant for you. And you're called to follow it, to honor it. And when you do, and when you can, and each step you take into those stones in the fog with a faith-filled, fortified heart, right? Delight in that. The 3D matrix is becoming less and less relevant to spiritual seekers and those choosing to keep rising. That whole story is becoming less and less appealing, less and less engaging. And the simplest way I can say it is, it's becoming less and less vibrationally relevant to those who continue to align and rise. So all that is closing out. And what is rising is the new earth, the new age, and the new you that has been seeking this freedom and this sovereignty and this prosperity and this health and wealth and well-being and liberation for lifetimes. And this is our moment. This is that time. I have a lot of songs and themes that I'm still going to share with you, but can you feel that energy? It's here in the fire horse. It's here saying, I am here to assist you. I am here to escort you. I am here to propel you to take the next steps to be you, to express the gifts that you are, that only you uniquely have. Right? We have a distinction that the world is craving. It's our job to tap in to that distinction and that uniqueness and that wellspring of talents and allow it to be expressed for the greater good of the divine, right? Beautiful. Okay, so as I'm recording this, we're going to gather at the river with Dr. Terry Cole Whitaker. It happens to be 1:11 p.m. on the East Coast as I'm recording this, so a portal opens to talk about Terry Cole Whitaker's amazing gifts and messages for us. And for those who have been with me for some time, you know I've been spotlighting some quotes and insights and stories from Dr. Terry's book, Dare to Be Great, 7 Steps to Spiritual and Material Riches. It is a book full of jewels and gems from Dr. Terry. She has about 8 books that are fabulous. And I podcasted with her, and I don't always have time to read books. So I am discovering her books now in my life, and I'm going to go through each one of them as best I can, and we're working our way through Dare to Be Great in these monthly messages. And so I have a few slides prepared for you, and I said it in the opening message, but as I prepared for these messages for you for February 2026, it is incredible and divinely synchronistic that the next quotes on the very next page from where I last was in January was talking about the potential for immense wealth that is born with us. And this is a quote from Dr. Terry's book, Dare to Be Great. The next sequence of quotes come from her book. And she says, the origin and source of all we are seeking is within us. A wealth of invaluable resources is lying dormant in the seed of talent, intelligence, and creativity. When we seek out and use what is within us will bless and produce a beautiful and opulent garden of every good and wonderful thing and experience. Those who are able to bring forth the wealth within them make 3 primary decisions. And you might ask, what are those primary decisions? Well, coming right up on this next slide is, and this is all Dr. Terry's work, she says we must first decide to find out about the wealth and power that is within us. That's step number 1. Decision number 2 is we must decide to access and use the talents, genius, and power we all have within us. And number 3, we must decide to set ideals and goals that are far beyond what we have attained in the past. Basically, you can't play it safe if you want to attain that level of wealth and genius and talent expression and fulfillment that comes from a soul-led and soul-aligned life, right? We go through these 3 primary decisions that she outlines so beautifully in her book. And then Dr. Terry says, we come fully equipped at birth with the basic ingredients we need in order to flourish and thrive. Because the whole, or God, is complete. Each part of God is also complete. Since we are part of God, we are also complete with nothing missing. Something few people have realized is that the Father has provided for each of his children by giving them talents, intelligence, and creative abilities to be used in exchange for what they need and want. That's this wellspring of wealth that's inside the sacred seeds of our talents, intelligence, and creative abilities. Dr. Terry goes on to say we also have our propensities and inclinations having to do with what we would enjoy doing. These talents, propensities, and inner urgings to express are our means to prosper, make a difference, and fulfill our part in God's divine plan. Terry lived this exponentially, right? In every aspect of her life. When you're on the spiritual path, it's not always the easy path, is it? The spiritual path is not always the easy path. That's why Joseph Campbell coined the term the hero's journey. That's in old storybooks that goes back almost to the beginnings of time that humanity can remember. We've been living the same story, the same story arc, these same myths in human beings across many civilizations, across centuries and centuries of time. Right? It's not the familiar road. That's what happens in the hero's journey, right? They leave the familiar path, right? They accept the call to the adventure, which means they leave the status quo. They leave the mundane. They leave what they know, or that they think they know, or that they think they need. They step away from the comfort and the familiarity to step into something entirely new. And it takes a great deal of courage to do that. But we have forgotten so many tools that journey with us that we are whole and complete as God is complete. We are part of God, and so we are complete with nothing missing. We have all the talents and intelligence and creative abilities to be used in exchange for the things we need and want. And that's this feeling and this energy, that's monergy, if you will, of source funding us. Right? When we achieve that alignment, we are in our authenticity. We practice the art of allowing. We release what is not meant for us. We step into what is meant for us with faith and fortitude. Right? We have these propensities and inclinations that want us to enjoy what we're doing and really to enjoy our beingness, our gifts and our truest talents. Many of us do, and we don't necessarily even recognize them because we do them so easily we might take them for granted. This message about February is do not take your talents and gifts for granted. Look at them, see them, feel them, tap into them, let them commune with you and communicate with you. That's where your wealth is, right? That's where your wealth is. Okay, and then Terry goes on to say most do not know they have an enormous treasure chest of wealth in the form of their talents, intelligence, and propensities. Realizing this, my question became, what can I do to tap into this vast resource of almost limitless supply? Terry was asking this question. It's a question that many of us are asking. It's like we are these sunflowers in this field of consciousness. It looks like we're all the same, but no. Each sunflower in that field and the field of consciousness on this planet is unique and distinct and has a special gift for the whole garden, right? And so we want to find out, what can we do to tap into right now today this vast resource of almost limitless supply. How beautiful that Terry, in a world and sea of vibrational soup, in her time, in her day, in the decades that she was teaching, that she knew from the inside out to ask the questions that provided bigger answers and a bigger picture of this field of enlightened and absolute truth. I'm so grateful for Dr. Terry. I do miss her. I connect with her spiritually, but I miss her on calls with me. I miss her in podcasts. And so I feel like she's still podcasting with me and with you ongoingly when we gather at the river with Dr. Terry Whitaker. And I want to thank you for spending your time with me as we review her insights. And I find them very, very poignant for this precipice of February 1st, ongoing through the remainder of this month and through the rest of the year. We're going to be feeling these insights that are coming through portals from January, and they're really affecting great change for us. And we want to change our perspective of wealth and abundance and prosperity and where it comes from. Where does it come from? Source and the Great Mother. Where does that come from? It's the essence that God funds us through our talents, intelligence, gifts, resources, and propensities, right? Okay. Then Dr. Terry says, give of your talents and your talents and wealth will increase. The answer to this question that she asks that came in the form in her life of the parable of the talents, which would become one of her most favorite teachings of Jesus. Terry says in her book, Dare to be Great, because the one who was given many talents and advantages took what he had been given and multiplied it. He was rewarded by receiving the joy of the Lord, plus he was given 100% more to invest and increase. So what he was given initially, he had the benefits and the blessings of just that. But then he was given 100% more. He doubled all that he had and was given, and to invest more and to increase the moreness that he was experiencing, to increase the greater expanding abundance that they were experiencing. We give of our talents, and our talents and wealth increase when we do so. And then Terry, of course, teaches, because this is in the parable of the talents, give of your talents and your talents and wealth will increase, right? But then as well, the one who was given one talent, just one, hid what he had been given because he was a miser and afraid of losing the little he had been given. One of the principles of life is what you don't use, you lose. The law of life is that we must use what we have been given, including our talents, our resources, our power, and intelligence in service to the greater good of all. And if we do, we will prosper. I love that parable. I tapped into that years ago, and I know it's two sides of the same coin. It's the precious metals message of physical material wealth, and it's the message of sovereign, spiritual, soul-led expression of our talents as the other part, as the other 50% of our abundance and our prosperity and our experience of the living garden in our lives in modern times, right? We've been called to tap into that. It's not just the precious material metals and the physical wealth. That is part of it. That's God's sound money. That's God's money and sound money supporting our talents and gifts, which is the other half of the coin, which is the other half of that talent that in today's monies, so I understand it at least, is about $500,000 or $1 million, just one talent. One talent is that amount of money. Do we want to tap into our talents? Do we want to tap into maybe precious metals in our world today? It might be something to look into and to seek. Do we want to tap into our reserve of incredible talents, right? The abundance of resources, the incredible power, the creativity, the intelligence we have. Who's here to help us with that? The fire horse. That fire horse is galloping through our lives and saying, we don't have time to wait. There's no time to sit idly on that couch and play a video game. We have things to do. We have talents that are here to serve the greater good of the divine, and we best get going. We best get going. So I made a slide just to revisit and give a brief summary of the parable of the talents. So the story goes as, and you might remember, but if you've never heard this before, I just wanted to share it again. So it's worth hearing. It's relevant now to us today. It is timeless. It will be relevant in future time. It was relevant in past time. And we all need to tap into this wellspring of energy and awareness about the talents. Okay, so a wealthy man is about to go on a long journey. Before leaving, he entrusts his property to 3 servants, giving each an amount of money called talents. A talent was a large unit of currency worth roughly 20 years' wages for a laborer. Think hundreds of thousands of dollars today. He divides it based on each person's ability. The first servant receives 5 talents. The second receives 2 talents. The third receives 1 talent. The wealthy man then departs. The first 2 servants act quickly. They invest and trade with what they've been given, successfully doubling their amounts. The one with 5 grows it to 10 talents, and the one with 2 grows it to 4 talents. The third servant, concerned about risk, buries the single talent in the ground to keep it safe. After a long time, the wealthy man returns and settles accounts. The first servant presents the 10 talents. The wealthy man responds with enthusiasm. Well done. You've been faithful with a few things. I'll put you in charge of many things. Come and share in the success. The second servant presents the 4 talents and receives the same warm praise and greater responsibility. Identical reward for faithful effort, no matter the starting amount. The third servant returns the original 1 talent, explaining he buried it out of caution. The wealthy man notes that even a simple low-risk step, like depositing it for interest, would have produced some growth. He then takes the talent and gives it to the one who now has 10, stating the principle, for to everyone who invests and produces more, even more will be given, leading to abundance. But from the one who does nothing with what they've been given, even what they have will be taken away. We are stewards of God's sound money. We are stewards of God's precious metals and money and the riches of this world, whatever those truly are as a form of wealth. Could be real estate, right? Could be a business that's thriving, that's touching your community. Whatever that is, Source and the Great Mother, they are inviting us and asking us to invest and produce more, and more will be given. That is the law. That is what this story illustrates. It is not to hold on tightly to what you've been given with caution and fear of risk and fear of lack and fear of scarcity, because that's what the third servant reflects to me in this parable. Those that have the aptitudes and the gifts breathe into their gifts, expand their gifts, touch more lives, and receive more talents and receive more abundance. It's this toroidal field. Do you see that? It's you paying out and it's coming in, and you're paying out and you're investing it out. You're investing your talents and God is funding you. That toroidal field, you invest in your talents and God funds you. You invest in your talents and God funds you. Over and over again. But the one who receives the 1 talent, who holds it tight, maybe like a Scrooge type character, right? And squirrels it away and doesn't share it, right? And isn't touching the collective, isn't making an impact on the greater good of the divine in whatever ways we uniquely, each individually are called to, will lose those talents. They will be taken away because the vibration is lack. And when you have a vibration of lack, what you have leaves. What you have departs. What you have kind of falls through your fingers. But when you know yourself, your design is abundance. Your essence is prosperity. The truth, the living truth in the living garden of you is prosperity and fruitfulness and a great harvest. But you have to pay in. You have to give in with your talents in a way that benefits the greater good and that you feel joy being as you express it, right? And that's where I think we all have to look at is there's something in the mundane and status quo that we're just going through the motions, but we're not feeling that joy. That could be a clue that it's time for another step up. It's time for another stone in the fog to go beyond your comfort zone. Again, this is for educational purposes. I'm not telling anybody what to do, but I'm inviting you to feel these frequencies today in the parable of the talents and apply it to your own life. Apply it to your own abundance. Apply it to your own wellspring of how God funds you. And if you're not feeling a wellspring of that funding through God, then it just means you just have to tweak and take a couple next steps and listen for how your inner guidance system, your vibrational system, your frequency system is communicating with you of what is ready to fall away, to make room for the new, and to make room for the expansion that your soul is craving for this living garden prosperity, this God funding us frequency to find you, right? That's it. That's the path we're on now. Okay, I have 2 more slides and then we'll get to the Garden Insights message, and I have some songs prepared for you in part 2. So I just wanted to apply the wise use of talents. It's not just having talents, it's the wise investment. And you could insert use for investment. You want to wisely express, you want to wisely invest your talents, right? Material talents and your inner talents, your actual maybe monetary resources that you have, your financials, and also your inner spiritual talents. It's both. It's both. That energy of the 2 wolves, right? The material and the inner are not in friction. They're not warring each other. That's what the 3D matrix said. We're not battling each other. We're growing to get to a point where they are complementary polarities. And so the material and the inner want us to use our talents, both the material and the spiritual and the soul-led talents, wisely for conscious creation in 2026. So here's a way that I wanted to sort of bring some of that home. Just as the faithful servants in the parable multiplied their entrusted talents through proactive, discerning action rather than fear, scarcity, or neglect, we are called today to steward our resources wisely, whether they are financial talents, which could be investments, savings, a generous flow of income, or personal ones like our skills, creativity, intuition, and relationships. Wise use means aligning choices with higher purpose, investing time and energy into what truly expands your soul's expression, taking calculated risks rooted in faith rather than greed. This is not greed here. And releasing what no longer serves, old habits, limiting beliefs, or stagnant holdings, right? You don't want things that are just collecting dust. You want them to have a purpose. In February 2026's vibrant cosmic pulse that we're all tapping into now, we're all experiencing, it's February 1st at the time of this video, a threshold of accelerated change, heart awakening, and new era beginnings, new cycle beginnings. This focus sharpens, right? Stay clear on what you're consciously creating going forward. Stay clear as you can be, and intend that you are clear. By directing your gifts toward growth, toward authenticity, and toward contribution to the collective whole, to the greater good, you invite abundance, deeper fulfillment, and the blessings of a soul-aligned life that ripples outward, multiplying not just for yourself, but for the greater good in this pivotal year of evolution. We are expanding greatly and widely and deeply in 2026. This is another pivotal year in this Ascension decade. When we're through this Ascension decade and we make it to 2030, we will look back and there was not a morsel of time wasted in any of the years in this decade, right? Every single morsel and moment in time mattered, right? The way we invested our energy and gifts and talents will matter. So we want to really apply the parable of the talents wisely and wisely use our talents in this Ascension decade to set up a prosperity that can prosper our families, our communities, right? Our nation, right? Our world, and create an interconnectedness in some way just by the act and art of wisely investing your talents with the consciousness that it serves and benefits the greater good of the divine. We can really take a lot out of this parable, and I hope it's touching you. I hope it's intriguing you, or if you knew about it, maybe it's coming back into your consciousness to work with it flowfully, consciously, to fortify your faith and to take those big steps and invest it well. Invest all the incredible gifts that you have, the wealth that you already have. It's in your design. It's here for conscious creation in 2026, and February is going to catapult that. It's going to invite us to invest wisely and use our talents smartly and intuitively and in a way that our inner self pings with, yes, this is the way. Even if you're breaking from the pack and doing something very different with your monies and your talents than your peers or your family members or the script you've been living in your life that maybe you're ready to break out of because that mold was for an older version of you. And there's a whole new story of you that's emerging and wants to express itself and expand. I love this story of the talents. Okay, and lastly, before we get to the Garden Insights for February 2026, that also have these themes of expression and living your light, is the cosmic threshold, awakening, grounding, and bold new beginnings, which we know have been themes for this whole year, right? We've already been talking about that, and many are talking about that. Now, I don't, as of yet, have a deep astrological background this lifetime. I have a deep understanding from other lifetimes. So I did look a lot of this information up to pair some of the astrological insights with this cosmic threshold, this precipice that I'm talking about today, this precipice of great change and the robustness of the fire horse coming into our experiences, lighting the fire inside us, waking up the dormant seeds and sacred seeds and patterns and blueprints of perfection in our talents that wants to awaken our prosperity. We have to take action. This is a very action-oriented year, and we are the conductor. We are the participant. We are the action taker if we accept the invitation. And so from what I was able to gather with some assistance with AI, looks like February 1st is full moon in Leo. It illuminates heart-centered authenticity, courage, and self-expression, a powerful moment to release what dims your inner light and step fully into your creative, radiant power. Perfect for celebrating the talents that you're ready to shine. Again, feel that bold fire horse, right? Okay, February 3rd through 4th, Uranus stations direct in Taurus. It accelerates breakthroughs in stability, values, and personal resources. Sudden insights or shifts will free up stuck energy around money, self-worth, and what you truly value, inviting innovative ways to invest and multiply your gifts without fear. This is moving forward without fear. You're not bringing the scarcity with yourself. You're that bold fire horse who know that prosperity is your nature. Abundance and wealth of all kinds is your essence, right? February 13th, Saturn re-enters Aries. It stays through 2028, so it's going to be with us for a while. It grounds bold, pioneering structures in identity, initiative, and leadership. This is the cosmic green light to build lasting foundations for your dreams. Disciplined action meets fiery determination, turning inspired ideas into tangible reality. Ooh, I love that one. As a Leo spirit myself, that lights me up right there. February 13th, I love that. Saturn re-entering Aries. You've got the structure, you've got the passion, you've got the determination, you've got that fire, you've got it all. Right? February 17th, solar eclipse, new moon in Aquarius. It seeds innovative visions for the collective future and personal reinvention. A supercharged reset at the anaretic degree. I don't know that word very well, so I may not be saying it properly, but expect breakthroughs in community, technology, freedom, and humanitarian pursuits. Eclipse energy amplifies intentional manifestation. What future are you planting now? Okay, and February 20th, Saturn conjuncts Neptune at 0 degrees Aries, rare and potent, blends dreamy ideals with practical reality, dissolving old illusions while building structures for soul-aligned vision. That soul alignment is critical in 2026. It is critical for this bold action. It is critical for bold movement. We don't want to allow any archonic voices or deceptive voices or familiar, like our old familiar lives and the scripts we've been living, to deceive us and talk us into the mundane, to deceive us and talk us in to the familiar and the status quo. This life, this time, this 2026, this year is all about bold movement, bold decisions, choosing this expansive wealth that comes through a soul-aligned life, a soul-aligned living garden. Right? So this is a pivotal alignment, February 20th, for manifesting higher purpose goals with discipline, compassion, and spiritual maturity. February 2026 pulses as a cosmic gateway of accelerated change, heart awakening, and new era creation. Align your talents, the material and the inner, with this forward momentum. Release old stories and aspects of you no longer serving you. Invest boldly in authenticity and consciously craft the abundant soul-led life you are here to build. You are here to build this. I know that. I believe this. I believe it for me, and I know it for you, and I know it for every single soul on the planet. The universe, divine creation, the true creation, is conspiring in all of the best ways, in all of the highest good ways, for your evolution, your divine expansion, and your soul's talent expression. So step through the threshold. February and the Fire Horse are going to give you a lot of energy and momentum and power and potency to do it, to take action, to tap into the most soul-aligned expression of your divine talents, living and breathing in union with Source to create for the greater good of the divine. That is the hallmark of these times. That is definitely the seeds of frequencies that I see for February 2026. And February is all about frequency and our alignment with frequency. Okay, now having said all of that about the biblical parable of the talents, these insights from Dr. Terry Cole Whitaker, these insights really lifting off the page about the parable of the talents in you. The parable of the talents in you. Are you the person that received the 5 talents and invests them to make 10 and actually gets the 1 from the third servant eventually and gets 11? Is that 11 a portal? Is February 2026 a portal? Yes. Is the year 2026 a portal? Yes. That 10 plus 1 creates an 11. That guy who got the initial 5 talents and invested them to make 10 and then got the extra talent from the third guy and had 11 talents, 11 coins, 11 gifts. When God was funding that guy, number 1, another portal opened for another opportunity to express the talents at a whole other level, unencumbered by scarcity and lack and limited thinking, right? Investing in the talents, knowing that God funded him, knowing that the wealthy man who represents God or Jesus or the great mother or Sophia, right, is funding his innate abilities, which is us. God is funding us. God is always funding us. Let's remember that God funds us. And let's listen to that as we've been talking about the talents, as you listen to Garden Insights number 10 for February 2026. And the title is The Living Garden in You. The living wealth in you, the living abundance of you, the living abundance of the talents aligned with your soul, expressing for the greater good of the divine in you. Okay, let's have a listen to Garden Insights number 10. Greetings, precious souls, on the sacred pathway of remembering the truth of who we really are. February 2026 is a time of illuminating the light we each carry within. When we make time and space to connect with this radiant divine spark, we feel a fullness within that our soul recognizes as the Logos, the Christ-Sophia codes inside us that smile inside us as if to say, "You are perfect. You are whole, and you are everything you are divinely designed to be." This is a feeling of at-one-ment deep within, where we are safe, whole, known, seen, and loved for simply being who we are. The 3D Matrix's version of us, the character in that old story that we have been shedding for some time now, would have us believe the 24/7 noise about us, the world, and everything around us that at times feels chaotic, surreal, and even impossible. But when we choose to consciously breathe, when we really tune in within and feel our sacred heartbeat, the gift of divine breathing, and the power of connecting with our innate gnosis that has always been within us, the noise within and around us relaxes and dissipates, and the light becomes all there is. It is a peace and a presence that we can't find anywhere else but inside us. February 2026 is illuminating the peace of the Christ-Sophia presence inside us that no one and no thing can take from us. It is something we simply are. We can't be anything else but the light we are. And yet, the 3D noise and accelerated pace of life going on around us might try to tell us otherwise. And when it does, we take a deep, divine, conscious breath in, and we allow ourselves to remember the truth beyond the smog of 3D illusions and distractions. And we bathe in that light of remembrance as the peace of our divine presence resets and restores itself within us, as us, once more. It is here that we find fulfillment in the easy, simple ways our prana-filled presence nurtures who we are and embraces the gifts we are and always have been that seek to know greater expression and emergence now in the new earth light inside us. That new earth light that courageous souls like us are reclaiming is the living garden. We are the living garden, and I sense in 2026 that more people will begin to allow the feeling, the frequency of the truth of the living garden within themselves and within their lives in more evident ways and in more visible ways than ever before. A new world based on integrity, kindness, creativity, and the gift of simply being and breathing our divinity is birthing. A new economy based in the light of true and transparent frequency is rising. That call that is summoning us from within, the living garden that Eve and Sophia are seeding in our conscious awareness, is vibrationally reminding us that we already know the immense liberation and gifts of the presence of the omnipresence in us, in our living light, in our breathing, and in our garden-esque precious spirit soul. We are it. We are the living garden. It's us. And as that living garden in action, as that living life force and light source in action, just by knowing and embodying these frequencies, we disrupt the 3D matrix's illusions and noise that say otherwise. To be clear, we don't need to resist the old 3D matrix's economy that tells us an sundry of false narratives and outlandish lies about who we are. We simply need to place at least 51% of our attention in the direction of our inner knowing that makes the living garden within us more meaningful, more resonant, and more wholeheartedly relevant in all we do, say, feel, think, and breathe each day. 51% and higher goes a long way in transcending the old 3D paradigm and crumbling matrix that once held our gaze and trapped our life force within its borders. We are divine frequency beings. We are beings, not doings, and the 3D matrix convinced many of us for a time that we needed to do to survive here. We needed to consent to its protocols and rules, and we needed to serve its agendas to survive here. But that way of doing is already becoming less relevant to all of us at soul level. Some feel this more clearly than others, but for those that can sense it, our natural flow and way of being is being restored by none other than a divine dream team and God, Source Creator itself. When we participate in the world each day from this place of inner knowing, and we close our eyes and ears to the 3D matrix that loves to get our egos in a tizzy about how we aren't enough, we aren't doing enough, we don't make enough, we aren't fill in the blank enough. In these incredible ascension times we live in now today, our soul says to the matrix's constant barrage and beratings, enough. The truth is, I am enough. My frequency is more than enough to live a prosperous, soul-nourishing, meaningful, source-connected, and Christ-Sophia integrated happy life. I am here on the planet to be my essence. That is my purpose. That is my gift to the world. That is who I am made to be and why I came. Anything less than this knowingness is the epitome of the pain of separation and chronic spiritual forgetfulness that has gripped our world and vacuumed it further into chronic states of disconnectedness, judgment, division, and discord. The divine creative hero and heroine within us all is ready to make the 3D matrix and all of its distorted systems, manipulations, narrations, and rules for human existence irrelevant. And the more the old 3D matrix becomes irrelevant, the more the new earth and the light we came to share and shine here in what is emerging rises. Our innate buoyancy and resilience shine through, and we can breathe and feel the peace of our presence that lives beyond the matrix's tethers. We are the new earth. We are the living garden. We are the new economy. This is all based in sacred frequency. It's all based in the knowingness of our light. Light is a current of energy, and we are a living currency. We are a living life force that knows how to create more joy, balance, inspiration, and ease in the world. We don't need to work harder to make ascension happen. We simply need to remember that we are already risen. We are already the light of the world. We are already exactly what this world needs. We are already exactly what we need. We are it, and it is time for many of us to know this in deeper and deeper ways now. God is our source. We emanate from the source. When we live from this interconnectedness with Source, when we breathe from this union with Source and Sophia, Eve and Adam, Mother Mary and Mary Magdalene, and our beloved Mother Earth, we breathe the living garden into our lives, knowing we have always been here. This is all there ever is and was. We simply entered a lower frequencied story filled with all kinds of false mirrors and narratives until such time as now, when we would remember it all. We would breathe and know our way home. That's it. It is through conscious breathing, conscious remembering, and conscious knowing that we vibrationally return to the living garden. February 2026 will give us more opportunities to breathe and know ourselves as home in the garden, right here and now. We are the living garden. We have always been its sacred seed, carrying the blueprints of forever within us, until one day, this day, we would expand our consciousness and sacred awareness long enough to remember that we were always home, always, inside our breath, inside our knowingness, inside the eternal truth of who we are. This month and this year, filled with the boldness, strength, and momentum of the fire horse, let's allow our inner lanterns, compasses, and maps to be lit from the inside out. What is supremely relevant here is the pureness that flows through our Gnostic knowings. Our frequency is the most relevant navigational system, no matter what is happening otherwise within or around us. Let's embrace these opportunities to grow in frequency awareness and frequency discernment. Let's invest in breathing ourselves awake beyond the haze and din of the games of 3D illusions. And as best we can, let's invest in the dreams and visions that our higher light and soul gnosis holds for each of us to manifest this grand return to the living garden, freeing us all from the incarceration that the illusion otherwise offers to every soul incarnated here. February 2026 is saying freedom is only a conscious soul breath away from where you last gave your precious life force's attention in the last breath and where you desire it to be now in this new moment. Remember this as the noise of the 3D matrix calls and as your precious soul light orients you again and again to your soul's knowings that have roots deep in the earth from the moment your soul first became form and you knew yourself as one with Source, one with Gaia, and one with the greatest garden in all time and in all realms. When distractions and entanglements call, set your boundaries. Know who you are. Use your discernment. Shift your story to the new timeline of you as you wish and desire it to be. You are the storyteller now, not the matrix. So choose well and create wisely, and vibrationally invest your precious life force in the living garden, the one you know deep in your soul to be true. It is time to be you. The living garden in you is ready to shine through. Let your light create a refreshing, new, divine story of you and your place in the true creation story. As you rise and reclaim more living light throughout February's frequencies of illuminations, allow the power of the dream and the power of story to allow in more of the truth of your gifts, awareness, and star-lit charm than ever before. This is your time. This is our time. Wow, what a powerful message for these times, for February that is full of potent frequencies, that's full of the fire horses, quantum acceleration, boldness, and momentum. Talking about the living garden in you, which is the living talents in you, which is the living wholeness of two sides of that coin, the material and the inner spiritual you that wants to align with your fullness of expression. Fullness is such a theme that the gnosis in you knows, that the Gnostics knew for centuries and centuries of time, right? And it was nearly stamped out because it was an inconvenient truth for the 3D matrix at that time and all other times, right? The 3D matrix can't have people waking up and realizing that they have the power within to transcend this world, to walk through the tension and the duality of the two wolves fighting each other, that they actually are complementary polarities that want to work together for you to step through the next portal with your talents through 1111 portals, right? Through that sacred 11. We're walking through the 0 point. We're walking through the center with our spiritual gifts and our soul skills right there with us, ready for another expression and expansion, trusting with faith-filled vision, trusting that clear inner sight to lead and guide us, right? So I love, there were many things in this particular Garden Insights, but just feel the presence of the omnipresence in the Christ-Sophia codes inside you. Feel that presence of peace and fulfillment and wholeness that is your nature, right? It is your sacred blueprint that wants to invest itself in unity, unified for your greater good, unified for the collective's greater good, and truly the greater good of the divine. And I love this phrase that the living garden in action. And that living garden in action, as that living life force and light source in action, just by knowing and embodying these frequencies, we disrupt the 3D matrix's illusions and noise that say otherwise. To be clear, we don't need to resist the old 3D matrix's economy and propaganda and deceptions and all the games that are played, right, with the sundry of false narratives that we've all been given since forever, right? We simply need to place at least 51% of our attention in the direction of our inner knowing that makes the living garden within us more meaningful, more resonant, and more wholeheartedly relevant in everything that we do, feel, think, say, and sense, right? It's a direction of our intention and attention and our abilities, right? Our talents. That's how we invest our talents, with our energy, with our frequency, with what we give our energy to. So the material and the inner spiritual talents, that alignment and that sacred allowing are so important. They are seeking a divine partnership with you. And what's happening that we're all feeling is there are layers in our lives that are releasing that aren't meant for us. But what's happening is that old stuff breaks apart and it shows up in our lives, and it may not feel so comfortable, but it's being witnessed by us so we can release it. And then we can embrace what is aligned with our spiritual paths, our gifts, our presence, and our purpose, and the Christ-Sophia codes within us. That is what is emerging. February 2026 is going to have a lot to do with clearing the pathway for your bolder expression of the truth of you. Okay, and then let's remember that we are enough. We are enough. We are enough. And this Garden Insights number 10 has been such a gift. It's really here to fortify and remind you all month long and the rest of the year, whenever you want to tune into it. It's a message of remembering the living garden that's alive in you, that wants to take action. And you are the living garden in action. You are the talent. You are the coin itself. We are the talents, right? We are the abundance, and we are the creativity and the intelligence and the propensities that Terry was talking about. It's us. The living garden is us. And with that said, let's go to part 2 of the soul songs that I prepared for February 2026 that sings messages of every single theme that we've discussed today, talking about the talents, talking about enoughness, talking about the Christ-Sophia codes, talking about February's potent frequencies, and really talking about the grace and the gifts of the sacred garden, the living garden that is you. Okay, so thank you. Stay tuned for part 2. See you soon.